here. Hold on. And we're going to go live. You can speak now.
Hello, are we on? Yep.
No. Hold on. I'll go live on Instagram. And you are live on Instagram. There's a bit of a delay.
Hello, neighbors. Everybody out there in Orange Land, I hope you can hear me okay. I am so excited because I have been dying to do an Instagram live with updates for the last couple months, and I've had everyone coming into the squeeze and saying, "Where's our live updates? What's going on in the city?" But guess what? I have an incredible special guest with us here tonight. I have our amazing Councilwoman Ariana Barrios here.
Thank you so much for having me, as always.
Yes.
Always fun to sit and talk with you.
Of course. And I love talking with Ariana. She is a wealth of information all the time, and she is Orange, right? She is like the heart of Orange. So I know we have a ton of topics that we need to cover tonight, including all the different ordinances that have been happening at the city budget that we just passed, as well as new city manager. So we have a ton of things, and then also everything that's going on with ICE. I can't tell you, I've had about 100 DMs from everyone asking me to please comment on this. My page, is a voice of the community. And so I cannot not acknowledge everything that's going on. So I want to get right into it with Ariana. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And I guess the first thing that I'd like to discuss, since it's been a couple months, and a question I get all the time is, how are we doing with our city deficit? We had a $19 million deficit last year, tried to pass Measure Z, didn't pass. And so what does that look like? What kind of cuts have we made? And what does the budget look like now?
So at our last city council meeting, we did pass a balanced budget. So what's really interesting is that the Register, a reporter who I guess was not a big fan of ours, had printed that we actually did not pass a balanced budget, and that we were running about a $2.5 million deficit, and that we would make that up at some other time with other cuts and or taking from our reserves. That was not true. We had already made those calculations prior to that. So the budget we passed is balanced. But that is only for right now. So it's still going to be tenuous for some time. So we just don't have the kinds of revenues we need to see coming in order to make, grow, put money back into the reserves to, do the kinds of things we want to do, like all of the city events, which are so important. And those are the things that flavor Orange, that just make us us. So it's been really disappointing that we couldn't quite get back there yet, but it is an austere budget, and whether or not we have to do more cuts, we don't know right at this moment. It's going to remain tight for some time.
And so with those cuts, I know that we're really down city staff at this time. Last I had heard, we had about 73 vacancies, which also included, this time last year, we had 170 in the police department. And last I heard, we were at 153. Is that still accurate? Have we lost any more?
Not that I know of that I could answer right now. So we're running at City Hall about 80 vacancies.
Oh.
We still have vacancies at the police department. What's really interesting about that is, and this isn't to downplay at all that we have these issues going on, but our police department it's not just a matter of having vacancies or not being able to pay people. Police officers, good police officers, are notoriously hard to recruit everywhere. Mm-hmm. So everybody's having this issue across the country, and certainly across the state, and right here in Orange County. And for Orange, we have to compete against an Anaheim that's offering $10,000 to $20,000 bonuses for either police officers, police officers who have experience to lateral over, is what we call that, to transfer. Or, you have new police officers who come in, we train them for a year, which costs about $100,000. And then they decide, oh, look, I can go over here and get more money. So it's just a constant churn of trying to get more people in, trying to find the right people. But with all of that, what is absolutely amazing about our police department is that they have not just been making do, they have been making great. So we had our annual report from our new chief, And the stats for crime have gone down for, I think this is the third year in a row, but they were significantly down. It was really impressive. And you almost you're always afraid to jinx it, because the next thing he said was, it looks like we're on track for being about 20% down in crime going into this year. And then bam, that week we had like one thing after
I
another
know.
happen come into the
Ugh.
city, and hit and runs and
Yeah.
gang violence that wasn't from here but came into the city, and then we have to clock that as ours. So lots of different things happening, but our police have just done a phenomenal job.
Another great thing that they also just passed at city council with code enforcement. You guys remember we had that girl that hit the fountain and she had the NOS tank in her trunk, which they also, Raphael, head of code enforcement, gave that
Yes.
report and said that that's out of your system within 10 minutes. So it's not like they could test to see
No,
if she
right, that
was
is correct.
intoxicated at the time.
Which
But
is why they didn't charge her at the time, so they couldn't take her in right there as like a DUI or driving under the influence, but all that evidence did come to bear.
And so now they've passed. I don't know if it needs to go through one more vote to officially pass to be an ordinance, but they will no longer. So currently, you could sell a NOS tank at one of
Yes.
our smoke shops, and as you know, we have about 300 going down Tustin
Yeah,
at
we
this
do.
time.
It's really something.
So now that's illegal, and
Yeah.
will no longer be able to hide any sort of flavored nicotine or anything like that behind the counters. And so thankfully, if you think back even 2 years ago, it's crazy to think that we didn't used to have code enforcement even, or a way for us to be able to find people. So
Right.
we've come a long way in 2 years.
And this is one of the things that we try to explain to people, is that when the current council that we have now came all together and were seated on this council, we really had to look at everything that was going on, and a lot of it just didn't make sense. It was the same old mantra, we've always done it this way, and I was like, what, no, we're not doing this anymore. This is just ridiculous. So kind of every council member took something that was of interest to them, and everybody championed something. We all worked together. We worked with the city staff and our city manager, Tom Casella, who I cannot sing his praises enough about being willing to go with us there and make those things happen. But one of the things we looked at was code enforcement. At that time, we had code enforcement. It was completely decentralized, and it was in the individual departments. So you could have a code enforcement from Public Works go and take care of something, and then you could have a code enforcement guy from a different department who was over there not talking to each other, go do the same thing or answer the same call. So it was inefficient, it was ridiculous, and it just wasn't working. And residents noticed, because why isn't graffiti being cleaned up? Why isn't trash being picked up? Why are people parking crazy? Just all those things. So what this council did is we put a little bit more money into code enforcement. We brought everybody together. So now they're a team. And when you see them, they look like a team. They're just like, you don't want to mess with these guys. They're serious, and they take their jobs very seriously. And Raphael, the supervisor of the department, he is amazing. He's brought all this knowledge, and that's another one of the big things about what's happened over the last 2 years, and certainly even in the last couple of months with the city. We've brought so much talent in from outside who have broader experience, who have seen best practices in other places, who have asked the right questions. Well, why do you do it that way, and why won't you try it this way? And we're all like, yeah, why don't we do it that way? So and all of that fresh blood and energy has just really, as long we're having these issues, but we also have some really great things happening. And Raphael's he brought not only the smoke shop ordinance, which is going to be very interesting because those were completely unregulated. And he said something that I'll never forget, which was, if you go into any of these shops, and he's 100% right, they're doing everything but selling the drugs.
Oh yeah.
So it's all the paraphernalia, it's all the tools, it's the gas, it's all of these different things. And basically you're just inviting that element into our town. And it has just been rampant. So, he's introduced these new ordinances, the council was all behind it. And then, honestly, the next big thing is the massage parlors. And
hallelujah to that.
That's going to be the next big thing, because we know that is a hotbed for human trafficking. And there is no excuse for, anybody who's in there and legitimate to have licenses, to have the individual, massage therapists have licenses. And if you don't, and I will tell you, we found one. And again, things happen just coincidentally. So there was one down at the corner of Main and Chapman. So in that little shopping center where, oh gosh, the Ralph's is on one side. So this is the shopping center on the other side. And they had moved in, and it was, going to be this special kind of massage parlor. It was going to be a scalp parlor, like a scalp massage kind of thing.
Oh.
And, somebody that I know from some completely random thing said, I'm the property manager there, and we're having this problem. The doors are closed. Men are coming and going. And when they demanded an inspection, because they're the property manager, it was just mattresses on the floor. I mean, come on, mattresses. So it's like, what's going on there, right? There's like there's no hiding what's going on. But so then I'm able to call, our city manager, and we're able to work with the police, and we're able to get all that shut down. But it's just like, these are the kinds of things that we're really taking very seriously. None of that is slipping by anymore.
That's so nice to hear. And I see everyone's got a lot of questions on here. And so I want to make sure, I promise you, we will answer all of them.
All of them?
Well, some of them, a lot of them are happy
well,
faces. But another thing that I wanted to mention also, yes, we did we got a new chief of police. So Chief Adams retired. Right. We now have Chief Jevic. I think he's a wonderful man, and I'm excited to have him as our chief.
Orange High grad, yes.
Woo-woo.
So
and then we also had a few different line items of things that we needed to pass in the city. For example, like the fire department needs fire trucks, right? Fire trucks only get a certain amount of years in them, and then they need to be retired. They are very expensive.
Forever to build them.
Yeah,
like it doesn't happen
or something, right?
Yeah, it does.
So, and we had to prove that, and those trucks cost millions of dollars. And we're so fortunate that we have our own city services. Like we have our own fire department, we have our own police department. I promise you, they all care so much. So we just received a question on here. What does that look like for other cities that are looking to that are paying people more money? And what does that look like for us with this deficit that we have? I know a lot of the city employees, we haven't been able to give them their raises. That's been discussed a lot. We've had a lot of people, different unions showing up during public comments to speak about that. What does that look like for our city not being able to approve raises?
That's got to be probably one of the single hardest things about this job is that, you're talking about people. You're not, it's not abstract. It's not that nobody cares. But at the same time, you're representing, the taxpayers, you're representing, all the residents. And so you have to balance, and we did that last year, so the big thing was, do we do this or do we do that? And when it came down to it, it came to events, so, and, you and I did an event together to save it, which was really important. And we learned that there are better ways to do things. So that's important too. But, when you're talking about salaries, and especially for public servants, it is really hard to keep up with the Joneses, which for us is Anaheim, it's Huntington Beach, and in a lot of cases it's Santa Ana too. But interestingly too, Orange is a really special place. It just is. It just really is. Yeah. So, there are people who may go over to Anaheim and then quickly learn, well, this isn't Orange.
Yeah.
It's like, that's right. So we have our own special problems. We also have our own special charms, hands down. But it is going to continue to be a balancing act. And we are doing a lot of things, like we've invested in economic development. We are looking for new ways. Adaptive reuse is what they call it for some of our down. And things are going to happen, and that's why we went to Measure Z. We asked the public, can we go to Measure Z? It was a short timeline because we needed that runway. We needed that runway to fix the problems there were, because there were a lot of problems, and there still are a lot of problems, to keep people here and also to recruit talent. So, Tom Cassell has done a great job at recruiting new talent and new blood. It's just not happening fast enough. And I think it's going to be painful for another couple of years until we can get this figured out, until we can get everything firing on all cylinders. We're just not there yet. It takes a long time to turn around the Titanic.
Yes. And we were sinking by a giant iceberg in a hurry.
Yes. We avoided the iceberg, so that's good.
Yes, and we so the city's done a lot of other things that you guys might not be aware of, but they created a an audit committee. They're also doing a fee study, which is so important because a lot of times we don't know what our cost recovery is on things.
Mhm.
And so I believe they mentioned that fee study should be coming out in July. Hopefully they'll have it at the next council meeting. That's what they had mentioned that
I
they would be
believe
ready.
so, yes.
Which will be great because then we'll make sure that we're recouping all of those
Mhm.
costs. And how much does treats in the streets cost? Well, we don't know. We've never had to figure that out before. The city's always just covered it. And when they were cutting things like treats in the streets, they also cut things like, sanitizing of the sidewalks throughout the
Right.
plaza, which have become very disgusting. So we're working on a way to try to figure that out in the interim until the city can get that going. But if it was between having clean sidewalks or having police officers and firefighters and safe streets, well, then the sidewalks had to go and the events had to go and all those things that we talked about that would be cut, like the libraries and things like that, they simply had to go. So, we had the Hart Park that was the pool closes.
Can I butt in on the
Yes, butt
library?
in it,
Because the
yes.
library is like one of my sore spots. So that's
Okay,
like
let's
a
hear.
trigger
I would
warning.
love to.
So one of the interesting things, and this goes right to the heart of what was wrong before and what we're doing now. And that is one of my colleagues, Councilmember Gillenhammer, give credit where credit is due, had kept coming back to the issue of the library and kept saying, it doesn't make any, I don't understand. And this is kind of our favorite thing to do. We don't understand so that we can kind of get to the bottom of things. And he kept saying, I don't understand why the budget for our libraries here in Orange is $6 million plus something dollars. It's a fraction of that in Huntington Beach. It's half that in Anaheim. And those cities are twice our size. So it didn't make any sense. And he kept hammering on this idea, no pun intended. And so the city staff said, okay, fine. They did a study. They did a very strong managerial study looking at what was going on. And what they found was that the library had been operating under a budgetary system that was done like 20, 30 years ago. And it kept them almost perpetually staffed in a way that's similar to the fire department, which then, artificially inflated costs. And then not only did they do that, they went and looked at, okay, well, if you're a children's librarian, you can't work in the adult section. And so everybody was specialized. Everybody was, siloed. And so nobody could cover anybody else's. So it was inefficient. Then on top of that, they went and looked at every single person who comes through the library. They did this for about 3 months. And so in looking at those numbers, they were like, well, gosh, why are we open at 8 o'clock at night? Nobody is here. But we're paying people to be there and keep it open and the electricity and everything else. And why are we open at X time or X day? They looked at it from an efficiency study and said, this is when our residents are here. So it's not that we cut anything at the library. It really isn't. It's we adjusted to what is needed and what our residents were doing already. But there have been a lot of people who've come forward at the council just like, don't cut the library. We're not cutting the library. Because had we not done that study, we would have just outright cut and closed Taft Library. But because we did that study, we didn't have to close it. We did not have to close that library, which is fantastic. That's the kind of thing we need to get in there. That new thinking, not the same old thing. And let's be smarter about it. Let's be creative about it. And we can do those things. Those things we can do.
Well, I mean, just the fact that, for a long time in the city, it's been, like you said, Orange has done it this way for forever. We've had the same people up there for 30 years, and it's always been done this way. And this is what we're going to continue to do. So just the fact that you guys are up there and looking at things in a different way, I think is a breath of fresh air because it's literally what it's going to take. And I just saw a comment that someone said that, all you guys did was waste all of our money and make a mess. Now you're expecting us to pay for it. And I will tell you, it was not these guys. It was the last guys. Because it's these guys that are here that are trying to fix it and everything that's been happening for so long.
Well, and you mentioned the audit committee, which I'm really glad about because our former mayor led that group, Carolyn Kavecki, and she's one of my favorite people and a really strong mentor to me. And one of the things that they did is they went back 20 some years. It's probably even longer than that. And they went back and looked at all of our financial data. And not only did they look at the financial data, they organized the financial data so that it was all apples to apples. And that had never been done before. So even our current finance director, when she came in, was looking at our past financial information. And every year it was different format, different style. Nothing was forecasted. We had no idea what we were looking at 2, 3, 4 years down the road. Now, that was something that I had the pleasure of having when I was at the school district. We had to look ahead, but they weren't doing that before this current council was sitting. So what happens with that is that for a council person or anybody, you want someone to go, roadblock,
Yeah.
just like, duh, you're going to hit a wall.
You're gonna hit a
And
wall.
that would
Yeah.
be nice to know, so, and I tell people this because the year that we really went over budget was the year we hired more police officers, that we put code enforcement into place, that we did all these things that our constituents wanted, that residents wanted, and that we wanted as council people. And not a single person, not our finance director at the time, not our mayor at the time, not the city manager at the time, not a single one of them spoke up and said, well, gee, guys, if you do this, you're going to blow a hole in the budget. That would have been nice to know. But that goes to show you where we were at before. We're not there now. Now we have real data, real information. We know where we're going. We know where we came from. And you can see the through line that we never, ever recovered, not from COVID, but from the crisis of 2008. From that time to this, there was no realistic understanding of revenue versus expenses, versus, okay, now what are you doing in taxes? What are you getting? And, we're seeing those things diminish, but there was, again, nobody was going, pothole.
Yeah, you're going to hit that.
You're going to hit that.
Your sales tax dollars are going down. Everybody's ordering online.
So I understand for people who are tuning in, who are watching this and just going, how could you not know? You're right. How could we not know? I feel your anger. I'm angry most of the time about it because it is so irritating, and it really bothers me in terms of how did that happen, So I will tell you this. I remember in my first couple of council meetings, and I think Anna Gutierrez would agree with me on this. I used to sit there and think, God, I must be the stupidest person on the planet. None of this makes sense. It just doesn't make sense. I'm not a mathematician, but none of this is adding up. And it wasn't until, I got my feet under me a little bit where I was like, you know what? None of this adds up. There is something really wrong, So, you start to feel like, there's trouble in River City, but, there was. So, but it's, I love this place, and I'll work my ass off, to make sure that we get out of this. If that's my legacy, that we get out of this, and that we're in a good, stable place, and that our residents and our employees have what they need. That's going to be everything.
And you do work your ass off. Oh, you guys really do. Wow, that was I had another.
I'm sorry, that was
questions
a real
in
rant.
my mind.
So
that was
sorry.
a rant, but it was a good one, and it was important because I think people need to understand, because that's the number one question we get all the time. How did we get here?
How did we get here?
Also, in that the audit committee did that presentation, and essentially at the end of it, what they said was that it was 2008, and then the pension obligation,
right,
and then the
which
hiring
is not unique
of more
to
people.
Us. Yeah.
Pension obligation. Maybe talk a little bit about that, because a lot of cities are facing the same exact thing.
Everyone's facing a tsunami in pensions. I mean, that was a big talk when I was at the school district, and that was the college board, by the way. And we did something that not a lot of people did at the time, and that was to take our pension obligations and to put them into bonds, and to pay for a lot of it through bonds. We were lucky. We got it at just the right time when bonds were super low. So if you have a mortgage right now that's at 3%, we got these bonds at about the same time. So it's really great for us. It helps us cover those costs, because you look at it and it's a wave. So it's a big wave, and it's, as people retire at the top of that wave, that's coming up now and over the next probably 5 to 10 years. So we have to take care of that. But then following that, they changed the rules at the state. They changed how all of that is handled, how employee benefits are handled. So that will decrease after time. And again, we needed that runway in order to cover all that. So, we're still going to have to watch it very, very carefully. We're not off the hook yet, but we've made a good start.
A good chunk. And another question on here, not to jump topics too much, but folks are asking about the paid parking. We just had a downtown merchants meeting So you guys know, you saw the video that we will, in the fall, they're estimating fall 2025, that we will now have paid parking throughout Old Town. And we kind of went over what that looks like a little bit. My big concern and what I spoke out about at City Council was that, you know, I'm concerned about the areas we are having permitting more parking areas that surround the plaza for the residents in the neighborhoods. But I'm concerned if we don't have a, parking enforcement in place to enforce those permits in those areas. I'm worried about the employees and, folks coming to visit the plaza, going and parking in the neighborhoods and inundating the residents. The idea behind having paid parking, one, we need the revenue. And two, the majority of the people that are parking in the plaza throughout the day, I could tell you at 8 a.m. when I'm there in the morning, the plaza is full and the majority of the businesses are not open. It's all the employees that are parking there throughout the day. So we need to get the employees to go and park into the structure. So that way the merchants in the plaza, people can easily come in and shop and eat and drink and get out. I mean, there's a rule, like an unsaid rule, that if you circle 3 times that you go home, you leave.
Well, actually, it's a law that if you circle 3 times, you'll be pulled over. So I learned that in high school. So much to my chagrin. But the interesting thing is, yes, the paid parking, which a lot of people have fought against for a long time. But everybody who knows, like, if you're trying to run an errand in the plaza, it's not going to happen. You either need to be walkable or you're not going to find a space. But the interesting thing is exactly what you said. People are just parking and that's it. And while we will get revenue for paid parking, the better benefit of paid parking is the turnover.
Yeah.
And that turnover helps all of our businesses, especially for like our restaurants, which we've crammed so many restaurants into downtown. If you don't have that churn of people being able to park and having that turnover, then with all the amount of restaurants we've put downtown, they're going to cannibalize each other. We're going to become downtown Fullerton, and that's not going to benefit anybody.
No, we don't want to be
that's going to
Fullerton.
be, because it'll just be bars, and that's not what we want. We need diversity, and a lot. And when I say that, don't get angry. It's what I mean is diversity of, different kinds of businesses.
The types of businesses, not all just coffee shops and restaurants.
Right, exactly. Because you need people to walk the plaza. You need them to go from here to there. You need them to have entertainment and enjoy what they're doing.
We want something to do down there. I keep wanting to get line dancing. I was trying to convince the ranch to open up at the Masonic.
Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome?
Spot.
So
Yes,
that would be great. So it's all of that where you have to look at things holistically. And I think, the former philosophy was, kind of free market and we'll permit everything and you're on your own. But I personally don't believe that. It is a partnership. It is a partnership between us and businesses, between us and residents, and always looking for balance. What is the balance that's going to keep us, charming, a tourist attraction, make sure all the businesses are thriving, and that's how we're going to balance it. And we've done it in such a way that it's kind of like concentric circles. So from the paid parking, that's for the primo spots, but as you go further out, it will cost less and go to free. So when you go to the parking structure, and we're going to have additional parking over by where the fire station is, the old fire station is now, so as you move out, it will become free. So because now we're moving to the other side of the plaza in terms of packing it in.
I know.
Yeah.
They're packing it in.
They're packing it in.
And the parking actually is so reasonable, I thought, because in the lot behind us, like where Play Coffee is, I think it's like $28 for the day to park there.
Yeah.
Pablo's paid it a few times. Like, why are you doing that? Buy the monthly pass. But I think in the meeting this morning, they discussed it'll only be in effect from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So really focusing on that lunch crowd. And then it'll be 2-hour parking throughout the plaza, and it will only be $2 an hour. And then as you move into the paid parking behind, like behind our shop, for example, it'll be $1.25 an hour, and it'll be 4-hour parking. So I think that it's not that expensive. And some of the merchants, we were discussing, the possibility of like, hey, if you come into the shop and, spend $100, we'll happily pay for your parking or something like that, right? So almost
like they do anywhere else, it's like as a gift to your customers, to your best customers. So it just keeps them coming back and feeling good about that.
Yeah. So we want it, because I hear all the time, like, oh, if it's paid parking, I'm never going down there. And it's like, no, we want to support our customers too, right? Like we understand that, it's going to be
and people forget we had paid parking. So this, it was a while ago. I don't even remember it in my lifetime, but we did actually have, we did have paid parking. We had the old fashioned meters that were up at the street side. So
Yeah.
a couple of people, I've seen them around, that people have them almost like antiques. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
and one of my big concerns, of course, you guys know I like everything to look pretty all the time. So, one of the first questions I asked was, what are these parking meters going to look like? Are these kiosks? They're going to be kiosks with a QR code. So we hired Ace Parking. That this is what they do in multiple other cities and other cities in Orange County. And so they have different options for the kiosks and what they look like. I asked if that was going to be presented to council so that public could weigh in on what those would look like. I guess it's not going to come before council. City staff is going to decide, but they're
Yeah.
looking at the colors. They're going to be very considerate when it comes to what they look like, so it doesn't look like this monstrous machine.
So it just blends in, and honestly, it'll be to the with the contract with Ace Parking, they'll be patrolling as well.
Yeah.
So but there's some other things that we're exploring too, because I know a lot of people, in terms of there's the paid parking aspect, there's the permit parking aspect,
Mhm.
and then there's also just like are we doing enough for street sweeping? So that comes up quite a bit.
I know. Yeah.
So I'm working on that issue, and I hope to within the next 30 days have some new ideas on that, because I think
Oh.
there is a lot we can do.
That's exciting.
Technology is a wonderful thing.
Yes, because we hired this, this company to come through and, ticket people, but I
Right.
think we're running 5 street sweepers a day, and they've got a car following each one, but they're just following a street sweeper. They're not doing anything else to enforce
Right.
the permit parking, and we need to be able to do that
Yeah,
before.
exactly. So, because it is a big problem.
Yeah. Let's see. We have other questions coming through. Will cigar shops still be allowed? Yes, we'll still have cigar shops. They're just focusing on like the drug paraphernalia stores.
Right.
Yeah. Can Ace Parking help with ticketing on permitted streets? And why are we not ticketing folks? Well, currently, I asked that today also. So Ace will not be handling that in the residential neighborhoods. But the reason why we're not ticketing folks is because it would be police officers having to do that so far. And I mean, if it's between, a domestic violence call and writing a ticket, they're going to the domestic violence call. We don't want them writing tickets and chalking tires, right?
Right.
So,
But there are some other options, but like I said, I can't talk about that right now, but I hope to within the next 30 days.
well, that's
So
exciting.
yeah, because it's that difference between the paid parking area that we have we have somebody managing versus the permit parking areas, which all needs to be done as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so our next big topic that I mentioned earlier, some of you may have heard at the last city council meeting, we hired a new city manager.
we
So
did.
Tom Casella is going to be retiring. I
Mhm.
think they mentioned August 17th. Is that
Yes.
right? His last
Mhm.
day. And so that's very exciting. Tom Casella is our former chief of police. He was just here as like an interim city manager, and we love Tom Casella. So of course we're going to miss him, but I'm excited for what the future holds. And do you want to talk a little bit about the city manager that we have coming on?
Yeah, and again, I just thank you for the shout out to Tom, because I don't think we would be on the track that we are now had he not stepped in when he did. I just give him, I give him so much props and credit, because we needed someone of his caliber to come in and really shake things up. And most people, the common wisdom would be, well, he's an insider too, but not really. And so our police and our fire are very separate from city hall. So he came in with this attitude of, well, tell me why you do that. So, which is
Mhm.
great. I just can't say enough amazing things. So he may not have been a traditional city manager, but he was the city manager we needed. And I just will always bless him for that. So, so now he will be able to ride off into the sunset, and I will miss him more than anybody. But from there, we will be getting a city manager, Jared Hillbrandt. I hope I said that right. Jared is a product of Orange. So
Oh.
he grew up around here. I think he went to Villa Park High School, if I remember correctly. So I won't hold that against him as a Panther. Yeah, but his parents still live in the area, which is really nice. So he understands Orange. He has a good sense of Orange. He's currently, or I think he's just finishing up his stint as city manager of Laguna Hills. But prior to that, he was city manager in Stanton. He started in Villa Park. So he has some really good experience. Very much, understands us, has a good regional view and a lot of good relationships, which I think is really going to be helpful.
Oh, wow.
Because it's that interaction between, how can we help each other, or what are you doing that I could be trying? So, younger, this could be our next city manager for the next 10 to 15 years. So, very energetic, very excited to come in and meet everybody, meet everybody in the city, all the different groups and stuff. So, it'll be kind of a shock,
Oh,
in
it's gonna
terms
be
of
a
that.
shock.
But, I think we're all really positive and hoping that it's just perfect, So nothing's ever perfect, but it's going to be a big change, and it's time. It's time.
And kudos to him for wanting to take on the job, because we're a mess, right? And it's a lot. And he's going to have, I mean, it is going to be a serious project for him to come in and get us on track. And Orange is its own beast, it's its own animal here. This city is, I mean, the love for this city is so incredible, and the community is so incredible. But we have a lot of issues right now. So
Mhm.
when I saw that he was that young, I mean, he's not that young. He's
He's not
probably
that
around
young,
my
yeah.
age,
But he
right?
has small children,
Yeah.
so and I know Jared. I know him personally from working with him in my
Oh,
other regular life. So I've gotten to know him. I know what he's like. I know his personality, and I mean, he's just nothing but enthusiastic for the challenge. So I think you're going to need all of that right now. And he and I've had a chance to have a long talk about it. What is the truth, behind the orange curtain? What do you need to know? How do you
yeah.
need to deal with that? So, because I don't want him to come in unprepared. And,
Yeah.
and then, we're really lucky in the sense that, Tom is a resident.
Yeah.
So Tom may be leaving, but he's right there,
Yeah.
So if Jared needed to pick up the phone and say, how did you deal with this? Or what did did this happen before? He'll have a good resource, at least for the next, couple of years or year or so, of someone who'll be right there who can answer those questions, who has that long-term institutional knowledge. And that's going to be everything. Most city managers do not walk into that kind of situation. The other fun thing is that we'll also fairly soon be getting a new city attorney. So, and that's a big deal for us because of land use issues, because of, the stuff that goes on in the mall, the stuff that goes out in Sully Miller, getting rid of those big piles of crap that are sitting out there. We got a lot
Yeah.
to deal with,
Yeah.
So we have housing issues and agreements that need to be made. So it'll be really nice to get a new city attorney as well.
To do that also. And I will say, I was the one thing that I thought when I saw, Jared becoming our city manager, I saw a picture of him and he just looks like such a happy, smiley guy. He looks fresh. He looks like he's got a lot of energy. And that's what I thought when I saw him. I thought, wow, I think this guy is going to bring a fresh perspective. And, all of us will be rooting for him all the way, because his success is all of our success. We care about Orange. And yeah, I'm excited for his energy. I've never met him. I've never seen him talk or anything.
Well, and I think
but
both you and I know just personally that you can go a long way on, positive attitude.
yeah,
Because that's half the battle.
that's half the battle
And so I'm really, really hopeful that this is just going to be really good for all of us.
for all of us.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. And then, so really quick, random things that have happened
Random
at,
things. Okay. Is this like the
all the
lightning
random
round?
ordinances.
Yeah, exactly.
Lightning
Okay.
round. You can now have 6 chickens instead of 4 in Orange.
Wow. Okay. Yes.
And
That is true.
it's now illegal to work on bikes, like, for example, under the bridge in Hart Park.
Again, that is correct. So, and you can only imagine who is, fixing bikes under the bridge at Hart Park. So
Stolen bikes.
Oh, yeah,
and selling
exactly.
it for parts, right?
I'm sure they're honest, laborers.
Laborers out there.
Yeah. Mhm.
And anything else that there's been so many random ordinances have been coming through. I could make a quick post about that one day for everybody.
I think we hit most of them because we did the smoke shops, we did the Knox's
Parking and
oxide, we did parking, we did the chickens. You hit the chickens, you kind of hit the jackpot, right? So yeah.
So now let's get into the nitty gritty, which is, I have received so many DMs from you guys wanting me to address one, the protests, which I try to get out there and cover and just let people that are out there protesting have a voice and say why they're there, while also remaining very neutral. And but I'm also receiving a lot of messages about ICE and where what that looks like for Orange, what kinds of things have been happening in Orange. I've been having people send me photos. And so I know that's been really hard. And it's something that Ariana is very passionate about. Her and Ana Gutierrez brought this up at the city council meeting that we had because they wanted Orange to address that. We did have our Orange Police Department make a statement on their social media pages, which was beautiful. And I was so proud of them. And everything that they said was, we have nothing to do with anything that ICE is doing, as opposed to the statement that the Irvine Police Department put out, which was awful. I made sure to comment on that and say you really could take a page out of our OPD's book because they handled it horribly. And all the comments on the Orange Police Department page were so positive and thanking them and for taking a stance and making a statement. We thought it was so important. But Ariana's been very active on her Facebook and talking about this. So I just want to talk a little bit about, or a lot about.
I was going to say just a little. Okay.
A lot.
So, yeah.
Tell me all the things.
So and I just want to say for all your viewers, because I know everybody has a different opinion about this, about what we should be doing and how we should be handling this. And I get that. I'm, not interested in, shutting down anybody's views. But what I am worried about is the safety of our residents. And, Anna and I talk about this all the time. Obviously, it's deeply personal to both of us as the, Latinas and the only Latinas on the council and the first. But, I'm adjacent to the historic Cypress barrios. She's adjacent to the El Medina barrios. So our two areas are the areas that are going to be the most impacted by this, and they have been. So what we're seeing, and this is, kind of where we're at right now, is we understand we're not stupid. We understand that enforcement is happening. That has been very plain. It's been made very plain. As Orange PD put out, they don't cooperate with that. But when you have ICE agents coming into your city and they are masked, and what we have seen on many, many occasions, and all of you are seeing it in the videos that are coming out too, they are acting recklessly. They are beating people down. That is actually happening, whether you want to believe it or not, it's happening. They are scaring people. They're scaring communities, neighborhoods. They're scaring people. Not all those people are illegal. Anna told a really passionate story the other day that, they did a stop right in front of her house, scared the life out of her daughter because they, pulled in a fury, slammed on the brakes, opened the door, pulled somebody in, and then were off again. That is not how law enforcement behaves. It is just not what we expect from law enforcement. And I also look at it from the standpoint of, you are endangering our police officers. And I will give you an example. We had a dust up the other day outside of Moreno's. And when it happened, what happened was, from everything we can tell now in all the video, the ICE agents caused the accident, rear-ending somebody. And that, again, reckless driving. And that wasn't even the person that I think that they were after, but that happened. And then when they got out of the car, they were wearing, it's not even uniforms. They were just wearing those tack vests, and they said police on the back of them. So everybody instantly thought it's OPD. It's OPD. They're lying to us. They're out there. They're involved with ICE. It's like, no, this isn't what's happening. So without, clear identification, without, them coming up to people and saying, here's who we are. Here's what we're doing. And it is just going, I really, in my heart of hearts, worry that somebody is going to get killed. And, we're lucky to date, that it hasn't happened yet, but, people are afraid, and people do stupid things when they're afraid. That is just a truism. And I don't think that the tactics of making people afraid is the point. At least that's never been my thing. So my thing is the safety of our city, the safety of our residents, because, if someone gets hurt from someone driving recklessly and randomly, which we've seen, if someone is taken because they're not using warrants and they haven't produced, they haven't shown a badge, that's against the Constitution. I mean, again, believe me, don't believe me, but I have very strong feelings about that. And, I think everybody, because it went national, saw the story of Narisco Bronco, who, 3 sons in the U.S. Marines, a gardener, just a lowly gardener who's done that job for 20 years. He has lived in the U.S. for 30 years, was over in, Santa Ana doing his job. The ICE agents were not looking for him. They did not have a warrant for him, but they, were at the Home Depot in Santa Ana. They didn't find anyone there, and they came over to the IHOP where he was working. And the minute they came over, he ran, as anybody would do when, there's masked people coming after you. It is a scary time. It is a really scary time. And what I ask of anybody too, just as you're commenting and when you're thinking about things, I just ask all of us to find our humanity. Whether you believe everyone should be deported or not, it is your right to believe that. I may disagree, but I'm not going to tell you, that you're an idiot. I just won't do that. I try to talk to people, and we should try to talk to people and try to talk to each other. Why do you believe that? Well, is it this or is it that? Is it, we should just find our humanity, because at the end of the day, these are people. And again, maybe to your point of view, and you're probably right, absolutely, they're not Americans, they're still people. And I feel that strongly. We were out today, Anna and I, at Adelanto Detention Center to be with his sons, Mr. Bronco's sons, and to, go through that. If you haven't been out there, which who would be out there, it is quite the experience. It is really the experience to go through that. And, my family, my great grandfather did not come through legally, but that was the Mexican Revolution. Nobody was paying attention back then. But my grandmother, the idea that somebody would just profile her because she's Hispanic just really bothers me. I'm sorry. I've said my piece. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't get anybody too mad.
I think you'd be pleasantly surprised by the comments. I'm reading all of them, which just goes to show that, I mean, you guys really just restored my faith in humanity with all these comments, honestly, because
I don't want to
they're all
look, I'll
really
cry.
nice.
I will literally
But,
cry.
it's like I say about a lot of things. People say, why do you do this all the time? Or my friends will say, oh my gosh, this person's awful. Don't do it. I'm like, for every one idiot out there, there's, 40,000 other people on here that are so amazing. And that's what makes it restores my faith in you guys. And so a couple of sad updates to touch on what Ariana was talking about. So ICE agents had picked up someone in front of the gardening, Armstrong Gardening.
Yeah.
And so when they got rear-ended, they had that gentleman in the car with them.
Right.
And so people were calling in to report the accident. So all of a sudden you've got umpteenth ICE cars there with somebody in the car. And then Orange Police Department is just pulling up to an accident thinking that they're making up, giving an accident report. Well, then people are out there filming saying that our Orange Police Department is helping the ICE agents. And that was a complete nightmare. They were just there to make an accident report. And so the optics of that have been very bad. Now people think that they're
through no fault of Orange PD.
Right. And actually, I spoke with Lieutenant McMullen of Orange PD today about this, and I'm going to be going out to Marinos to go and talk to the owners because their business has been really affected. It just happened to be on a Taco Tuesday, if you can believe that.
Oh, gosh.
And so now people are afraid to go to Marinos. It's really affecting their business. So one thing I can ask you guys is please get out there and support them. There was not an ICE raid at Marinos, and we really need to support our small business, especially an old, beautiful business like that in Orange. Also, I had Perla. She heads up AYSO Soccer. So you guys know that I've been working to save all the events in Orange and using the shop for that. And so I was partnering with AYSO to bring back the movies in the park. And then also we were going to work on having a Dia de los Muertos event at Grijalva this year, similar to what they do in Santa Ana. You guys know Santa Ana is canceling their events because they're afraid their events will be targeted.
Yes.
And sadly, AYSO, their attendance has been really, really low. They have free soccer on Fridays, and they have people aren't going. People are afraid. And so we're afraid that if we do these movies in the park at Grijalva, we don't know what that looks like. Even if we're planning it for end of summer, we don't know where State of the World's going to be. And we definitely don't want to create an environment where ICE does feel like they could come and try to raid an event. So,
Well, and you know what's really interesting is like I'm sure everybody saw the images yesterday from Los Angeles. So where you have this enormous show of force in MacArthur Park. Now, my team and I, for my regular day job, we work over there. That is usually a teeming area of Los Angeles with street vendors and street carts and, homeless people too, but people in the parks and families. And it is a ghost town. It is a ghost town. So, yeah, what I would encourage for anybody is see where you can help, see where you can help businesses because businesses are being decimated. They're being
Oh
decimated.
yeah.
See, where you can help if there's a neighbor, if you feel called to help people because that's in your soul to say this is a bad break for some people. A lot of people are going to get deported. That is going to happen. That is happening. But there are people who are afraid, who don't necessarily need to be afraid, but they're too afraid to leave their homes. And there's organizations in the city that are looking for volunteers willing to make deliveries, willing to help people out, because we're all human beings.
Yeah.
We're moms, we're
Mhm.
families, we're brothers, we're sisters. And, to me, that's always been the best part of Orange. Orange is a volunteer city at heart. That is what we do. That is kind of in our DNA. So if there's something that you can do to help somebody, it just makes the world a little bit better place in a really uncertain and scary time.
It's true. And there's been business. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I went to go get my car washed at Town and Country and they were closed.
Yeah.
So it really is affecting our small businesses in Orange, which is
And that's
really
happening
sad.
everywhere. It's just,
Yeah.
it's happening everywhere. And, and the worst part about it is California is a target. So California is a big target right now. So, and now it's trickling over. We didn't see as much here, but yes, lots of stuff in El Medina, stuff happening over at the Cypress Barrio. If you're familiar with all of the heavy uh, apartment buildings over by behind the Arby's off of Tustin, they're targeting those areas. So, for our friends and neighbors who are, Hispanic, they're feeling really out there like this, like nobody wants them and like they all should just get out. And that's a horrible thing to do to people. It's a horrible thing to just make them feel unwanted. And, and some of the comments I've read are just awful. They're just awful. And it does make me question, but I'm going to keep out there and I'm going to keep using my voice because, I just want the world to be a little bit better place and try to get people to talk to each other. We just all need to have a lot of courage right now. And
Yeah.
that courage could just be being nice. It could
Love your
just
neighbor.
be being nice.
I preach it all day, every
Mhm.
day. Love your neighbor. If that's all you ever get from this page, just love your
Right.
neighbor.
100%.
Um,
That's it, man. At the end of the day, that is it.
And for those of you that don't know, I married a Honduran man from New Orleans. I married him probably because he's from New Orleans because I love New Orleans so much.
See, and I went the other way. So I
Yep.
married a white man from Fullerton. So
But I have little brown babies because he's Honduran, and so I mean, I'm Middle Eastern, I'm Turkish and Scottish, but my babies are half Honduran, and they're little brown babies. And I think about that, like, man, could you imagine somebody trying to snatch up my baby? I mean, it's crazy. I don't know.
and I've talked to some of my, my kids' friends, and this is even in our family. Like our family, half of us look really white, half of us look really Hispanic. And my kids grew up with kids who are, they're of mixed status family, is how they like to call it. It used to be mixed marriages, but now it's mixed status families. And I've had conversations in my family that I never thought I would have. Whether it's my employees or whether it's my kids' friends, and it's just like, yeah, what should we be doing? You should be carrying your papers at all times. If you look Hispanic, you should be carrying your papers. And what do I mean by that? You should have copies in your pocket, in your wallet, or in your phone of your birth certificate, your passport, your driver's license. You should have it all and just have it all with you all the time. Because right now what we're seeing is a lot of the sweeps being indiscriminate. And I think that that's really scary because it also means that they're taking people who do have status. They're taking people who are citizens. We've seen that, which is terrifying. And it's just a really hard time.
Will you scroll down a little bit? I want to ask this question because this is a really good question on
Mhm.
here. Councilwoman, any legal action you are willing to push Orange to pass to protect residents? I know you guys discussed making a statement or passing something at the
Yes.
last city council meeting. Will you talk about how that went and what went down with that?
Well, I don't want to
Go into
it's hard. You can go back and look at the city council meeting from 2 weeks ago, and it was really disappointing. Anna and I obviously feel very, very, very passionately about this. It's personal for us. It's personal for our families. I was disappointed in the reaction. I was disappointed in the lack of action. But you know what? We're not going to be silenced, and we're not going to take that lying down. And it's why we went out today to be with the Barranco family, because I think if nothing else, the number one thing you can do right now is bear witness. Bear witness to what is happening, and to be a documentarian. Citizen journalists are like, that's where we're getting all our information right now. It's kind of amazing. So all
Oh,
this stuff that was
yeah.
just kind of like, well, why is that person randomly filming something? Now it's like becoming so important. It's so important. And I challenge everybody to go look and see what you need to have training as an ICE agent. It will horrify you. And when I look at it and think about like what our OPD goes through, what the sheriff's department goes through, what any law enforcement goes through, the training, the tough training that they have to
Oh.
go through, the conflict resolution. I mean, those guys, I give it to them. They really go through it, and it's not the same on this. If you look at the footage of with Mr. Bronco, you have two officers running through a crowded street with guns in hand, holding them sideways like it was right out of like a mafia flick. It was in a crowded street where there were pedestrians, there were people in their cars. That should never be allowed to happen. That was unprofessional, and it was unsafe. And if something like that happened in my city, I would be raising holy hell, because it's like, no, I'm sorry, you don't come into my city and point guns. The man had a weed whacker. He did not have a machete. It's like, give me a break. So it just, people need to be safe, and they need to not be terrified. And we've got to find a better balance for that. Again, all about fairness, all about balance. And, I'm going to fight for that. I'm going to fight for that. And big props to our Republican legislators, of which there are so few up at the state level, coming together, putting together a letter and sending that to the president saying, please, can we talk about this? This is just, is there a better way? There's got to be a better way.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. So I hope that answers your question. Yes,
I know,
she did try
I
to
hope.
do something about it. It didn't work out.
And we're not done yet. We're
Um,
not done yet.
Anyway, I'm loving all of your comments on here, and I want to know, is there any other questions? So I wanted Ariana to, have a voice and be able to say what's going on in Orange with ICE, but where our Orange Police Department stands, and please still go out and protect our small businesses right now, because I would hate to see them close being affected by this. And if you guys have any other questions, I know we covered a ton of topics, and it's been 2 months since I've done this. So there is a lot. You're so welcome for taking the question. Yeah, I want to take everyone's questions. I see we have a lot of comments that are all really positive, and I'm glad to see at the end of the day, like Ariana said, we really are all humans. And we need to remember that. And it's just of course, we need to have due process when we do these things, but it needs to be a process. So let's see. Will we have a no mask policy for all law enforcement?
I don't know yet.
Huh.
So certainly I know a lot of people are looking at this, a lot of cities, the state is looking at it. So is they're looking at it at the national level. Now, whether those things will go through, whether they'll even, if anything was passed, they'll follow through. And you don't want to put your police department, in the middle of it either. I mean, it is a very, very tough situation. So all you can do is just keep fighting the good fight.
Fight the good fight. Okay, I want to leave everybody with some positive things so you don't
was
go
that
to
too
bed.
depressing? I'm so sorry. Yeah,
I
yeah.
lay in bed at night, and I'm
Yeah.
still the like City of Orange things, and my brain doesn't turn off. So on some positive notes, some things that I've started in the downtown area since opening up the squeeze is I created a band app for all of the merchants in the plaza, because I know there's a lot of theft that goes on, which I had no idea about until I have a store. And so I want us all to be able to connect with each other in real time. And so now we can. So when folks are coming down to steal at my shop, I know that they're heading right to the potting shed and then on to Deluxe and Full Circle, which is exactly what we're seeing. So kudos to our Orange Police Department. We've had 7 different times since I've started the app, which just ironically happened to be when the same weekend that the protests were going on. I thought, I want us all to be able to communicate in real time, not on an email, not on a text thread with 100 merchants. Um, and so just that weekend, we were able to get 3 thieves. None of them were protesters, but Orange Police Department got them all within like 15 or 20 minutes and each day. It was absolutely amazing. I know you guys saw the officer that everybody was calling the big stud. Like all the comments were the women in orange,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
who is that police officer?
I see a
Arresting that
calendar
guy.
in the making. So,
I
oh
thought the
my.
same thing. And I was like, can I just take a slow-mo video of you
Oh
for the women of
no. Oh
orange
no,
right
no.
now? Anyway, I tried, guys. So that's been really successful. And with that, we're also able to keep a master events calendar together so that we all know what everything is going on, so that we can start planning events and working as a team, all the merchants, so I can help support all the small businesses down there. And then we can start planning things like, of course, you guys know, hopefully we're starting the foodie tours on July 26th, as well as the historic tours. But then also starting a food and wine festival down there. I want to do like a sip and hop where we have different beer vendors come into each location, and we're able to have like an Oktoberfest down there. Or
Well,
I know
first we got to do treats
Ariana's
in the
looking at
street.
me.
I'm looking at you
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm like this, girl. We got
I'm
so
nuts.
much to do.
Yes.
So yeah.
And we saved Treats in the Streets again. So we did not partner with Old Town Preservation Association this year. We instead partnered with Orange International Street Fair because we want to bring Treats in the Streets back in all its glory.
Right.
And at this point,
and they know a thing or two about doing a street fair. Yeah. So they know how to do it. So
and we want to have, we want a Halloween band. We want to bring back the booths. We want to be able to have all of the booster clubs and nonprofits and the schools be able to participate again.
Yeah, because a lot of people asked us about that last year. Like, why didn't you have all the? And just like, it's just us.
It's just us.
It's just us. Give us a break. We need to get our feet under us. But it really was amazing.
It was amazing.
It'll be amazing again. Yeah, exactly. So,
I think it's coming back bigger and better than ever. And so I know that you and I are tasked with, luckily we had some money left over from last year, but we are tasked with raising $30,000 to put this event on. So we'll be doing fundraisers and all of that. And I know you guys are going to help support this and make it great again this year. So Treats in the Streets is on October 30th, right? It's the Thursday before Halloween,
it's like
right?
Right at the end. It's usually a week before Halloween, but it's right there. So,
which I think will be amazing.
I think it'll be pretty fun. So,
stay tuned because I am turning There's No Place Like Orange, the Squeeze, into a full-on Halloween shop. We're going to have blood orange everything everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited about that.
And I just have to say, for everybody who did bring their kids down to Treats in the Streets, oh my God, I had such a good time just looking at all the babies and all the little ones. And and the family costumes, absolutely my favorite. Absolutely hands down my favorite. You guys are so creative and I just love it. It makes me love my hometown even more.
Oh, we love it. And I know that they're discussing, tree lighting and everything that's going on with that. So hopefully that will be saved as well. It was really unfortunate that 3rd of July was canceled. So hopefully we can figure
Well, we did explain that a little bit. So 3rd of July was a concept that came about when we banned fireworks 20 some years ago. So it was like, well, look, we're taking away people's fireworks. We should do something and then, 3rd of July. And it was a big, big deal. So now everybody had fireworks, although I find it kind of interesting. I would love to know from your audience too. It did not seem as loud or crazy to me as it has in years past at all this year. It seemed a lot quieter to me. So maybe exciting. I just have tuned it all out after all these years, but it usually on my street work, because I live right near the plaza, and that's close enough to Santa Ana where you get this haze of that smoke from all the, the illegal fireworks. Didn't have that this year. It was really interesting. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. Certainly was a big boon for all the nonprofits who had booths.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm so excited. Of course, you guys know I went out and supported the Orange Plaza Rotary because I love the car show. So I really wanted to support them. So you saw my videos posting that for them. I did. I wanted to get a report from our fire department just to see how we did, because I know everyone was really worried about that. I did have someone sending me videos and photos of a a tree that caught fire outside of a house that
Ooh.
I know. So
So that must have been the illegal ones, or like even the safe and sane.
I don't know.
Oh,
And so
okay.
I don't know if that's under investigation, but I will definitely, I've already asked for more information about that. So they're looking into that so that I can, let
Which
you
we
guys
should
know.
give some props out to Orange Fire, because we've
Yeah.
done a lot of love tonight for OPD, as we always
Yeah.
do. But for Orange Fire, I'm lucky enough in my day job that I get to partner with Orange Fire on a number of things. And so for the second year in a row, they let us use the main headquarters so that we could do some demonstrations with the OC Sheriff's bomb squad, which is super scary if you've never seen all the stuff that they can bring in. Talking about illegal fireworks, we had all the TV stations out. So ABC and channel, KCAL, Channel 5, all of them were out. Univision was out. It was great. So they did demonstration with the culmination being a great big watermelon that they explode, which is
Whoa.
right there in the back patio. So I'm
Mhm.
sure there were a couple of nervous neighbors, but it's just a demonstration to show if you're using those, illegal fireworks,
Mhm.
how easy it is. And we have the news stories to prove it, but how easy it is to blow your own hand off with those things. So, and
I had
it
a Theo
is,
Pepe that blew his arm off.
yeah,
With the literally, I have a Theo Pepe that did that.
right. And it's really easy to do because you take one of those big mortars and you take it off of the stick and you think, oh yeah, that little thing is going to be long enough for me to get away. Yeah, no. So
Yeah.
it is
Wow.
dramatic, and it was, but we had to be out there at 5 a.m, and our guys were great. They were right there with all kinds of props, and Chief Dimitropoulos was out there giving interviews. It was really, really great. And it's our fire department that's featured too. So it's really, really
Wow.
nice. Yeah, they've been really awesome about that. And it's a great safety tip. So
And you guys know how hard I ride for our firefighters. And that's how Joanna and I got started and now have the shop, is because I wanted to raise money for our firefighters when the LA fires were going on, because they were up there fighting those. And I made the firefighter sweatshirts, and I just made myself a goal. Like, I'm going to sell these sweatshirts and maybe someday I'll hit $10,000. I have the most exciting news. We hit our $10,000 goal like 3
wow.
weeks ago.
Oh my goodness.
Selling these damn sweatshirts that have been a labor of love. I didn't know at the time because I'd never screen printed in my life, but doing a 3-color screen print manually is a lot of work. And I paid for the sweatshirts. Joanna did the screen printing for free. We hit our $10,000 goal. So I had a big check made. I got to present that to our firefighters. But they're using that for their firefighter foundation, which is an awesome program. And also in the shop, we sell the Ember fire dogs. We have the cutest dog, Ember. He's a peer support. She's a peer support dog, and they have these little stuffies. So 100% of that goes to them as well. You scan the QR code and
I
pay
know
them
they
directly.
just started the foundation, and I saw the thing about Ember.
Yeah.
Because my husband did the video for their award for the community champion this year. Yay. But I saw the thing about Ember, and I was like, why is he not here at council? Like, look at this thing, and why is there not a QR code right here for me to just, donate to Ember? What does he need? I will buy him a blanket. Just the cutest thing ever. So, I'm so glad the fire department is doing that foundation, and that, we just need to publicize it a little bit more, because, in Orange, we are special as a city, and we are special because we love our fire department, we love our police department, and they're our guys, our guys and girls, so
Yeah.
and they're really amazing, very dedicated.
We have 2 firefighter girls, I believe.
Yeah.
Firefighter women.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So with the Firefighter Foundation, it's a peer support. And so what Ember does is, say you have a child that needs to be transported in an ambulance, Ember goes with you. Also, number 1 cause of firefighter death is sadly suicide, because they see a lot of awful things. And so Ember is there, and now they have mental health services and everything to help our firefighters. So we got to really stand behind them to keep them strong so that they can protect us. And there was something else I was going to say, but I totally lost my train of thought because it's 10 o'clock at night.
Because it's late and all these people have stayed with us. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Let's see. Any other questions before we hop off here? Can you scroll up a little bit so we could see if there are any other things? Yeah, just a lot of comments on fireworks and fireworks.
No, someone
great.
Someone agreed. They thought it was quieter too.
Yeah.
So thank you. I'm not crazy.
And with we had police and firefighters cruising our streets.
Yeah. Well, and in some cities they were using drones for the first time.
Oh.
So where the drones could be, I think it was the sheriff's department, and I think they were like in parts of Anaheim and one other city. So they were piloting being up high, being able to target with,
Whoa.
okay, now I've seen, because like when you call
Yeah.
and someone's lighting off illegal fireworks, they can't arrest on your word. So by the time usually the police get out there, it's done, and they can't, unless they see it, they can't do it. But the drone can see it.
Oh, yeah, because
And
it
then
has
they
to be
can
in
send
their
someone.
hand, and they have to see you
They
actually
have to see you
physically
light it
lighting
off, so the drone can see it. And so like they were looking, and I'll be interested to see how that worked, so it's a little big brotherish, but interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, and you guys know I love some drone footage. I was gonna mention, and this is so important because I just had my cousin's husband just had a seizure on the ground too, right back to back, and he's actually a veteran and wanted to go to the VA's hospital, and they did not call an ambulance because the last time they had to call an ambulance, they had a $2,500 bill or something crazy with the insurance, and so she actually packed up the two babies, loaded him in the car, seizure and all,
Oh,
to go to the
geez, poor
hospital to
guy.
avoid the ambulance bill. For those of you guys that don't know, this is so important. I need to make a video about this. We have an ambulance program at Orange. It covers your entire household. So you can pay $60 a year and it will cover any sort of medical bills that you have to get you from your house, any sort of treatment to the hospital. $60 a year for you and everyone in your household. And I mentioned that to her and she said, "Why do I not know about this?" I said, "Sign up for this right now. I need to make a video. I'm sorry." So I'll be getting into that too.
It is very cost effective, and I own a business, as now you do. So if you own a business in town too, you can get it for your business, and that means anybody. So if you have it on your business property, then all your employees are covered, and there's a slightly sliding scale, but it's still super reasonable. But if you have people over, if something happens, you have a guest at your business, covers them too.
That's
So it's
insane.
just,
I
it is
didn't know that.
amazing. It is absolutely amazing. So the best kept secret in Orange.
I will put that link in these comments for sure, and then I will definitely make a video because I
Yeah,
think that's
especially
so
if you have an
important.
older parent or somebody,
Oh,
that's like,
yeah.
who's
My nana
probably,
here all the
yeah,
time.
exactly.
And the last comment on here somebody was making was, have you considered a business stop or a trolley to the circle so people don't have to pay for parking? Maybe even just during the street fair. And I know that they are working on we got a grant. I don't know if it was the Chamber of the City that got a grant to have like a transient, not a transient, but a transit.
What?
Wrong word.
We already have a transient problem. We don't need more. You mean like the little mini transit, like bus that we're talking about? So that was with the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce. No, I'm sorry, it was with the Anaheim Transportation Network. So Anaheim is big enough; they have their own transportation. They have been going through some budget crisis and not been able to fulfill that yet. So the hope is that sometime in the next year we'll be able to revisit it. But again, the world's a very interesting place right now. So a lot of things are being cut. A lot of things are being cut back. So until that settles out, it's really hard to know what's next.
What's coming down. Okay.
Yeah. So please, everyone, be nice to each other. We are really going to need each other in the next year.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, Ariana, for being here with me.
My pleasure.
I have talked your ear off now.
I know.
For
I've talked your ear off. So it's like, thank you for listening. I'm so sorry.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments and I will be sure to get answers for all of them. Any feedback for us, you let me know. And thank you so much for tuning in tonight.
Are we done?
No, you're still on there.
I just wanted to say, for anybody who has somebody who is going through or worried or concerned, you can go to my webpage, which is votebarrios.com/resources. There's a ton of resources there, kind of like great myth busting. And, if someone needs help, if someone needs, immigration and information, you can find it there. So votebarrios.com/resources.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to check it out.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in. Till next time, I promise it won't be 2 months.